And yet these people still believe they know better. They still believe that they know better than actual doctors do. Whew. Okay. Joe Rogan needs no introduction. Frankly, he's the largest podcaster on the entire platform of YouTube and Spotify and whatever, wherever he uploads his pod. He's the largest podcast in the world. I believe he holds that title quite firmly in his big, meaty gorilla hands. He's known for being kind of a dude bro. Joe Rogan, I'm not a big fan of his podcast. I don't hate him as a person or anything like that, but I'm not a big fan of his podcast. I've never watched it. I've watched it. I've responded to it on stream several times. That's the degree to which I've watched it, but I didn't even watch it when he had Bernie on. It's just I don't find him particularly funny or entertaining. The only podcast that I watch and really enjoy is the PKA podcast, Painkiller Already. I'd argue they're edgier and possibly more right-leaning than Joe Rogan is, and I still enjoy their content. So it's not so much a political thing, though I will admit I take pretty big issue with the way that Joe Rogan tends to disproportionately platform right-wingers who have been broadly discredited by most of the academic community, and yet he platforms them like they're someone you should listen to and someone who shouldn't receive any pushback because he never pushes back on any of his guests. Anyway, Joe Rogan has made the rounds in the news recently for being an anti-vaxxer. He is an anti-vaxxer. He is against the COVID vaccine. Early on, he was a COVID denier. He denied the existence and the severity of the COVID outbreak, pandemic, whatever. And then obviously, once the vaccine started to be a thing, he dipped his toes into vaccine, anti-vax shit. And how heretical it should be that Joe Rogan get COVID. He got COVID. Now, I don't want Joe Rogan to die or anything like that. If he did, I certainly wouldn't be shedding any tears because, I mean, you play with fire, you get burnt, you know what I mean? He got COVID. And what medicine did he decide to take to help treat his COVID? What better than Ivermectin? Now, I heard about Ivermectin for the first time because when I got my dog, a long time ago, when I got my dog Ginger, she was a rescue. We got her from the pound. She was supposed to have been put down 2 weeks before we got her, but somehow that hadn't gone through yet. She was late to be put to sleep. As they do at pounds a lot of the time, they kill the dogs that don't get adopted. And she was a little Pomeranian. And of course, being from the streets, she had worms. Pretty bad. She had heartworms. She had all sorts of worms. And so one of the medicines that we gave her was Ivermectin, or a type of it. Now, ivermectin is known most commonly as a horse dewormer. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean that humans can't take ivermectin. There are cases where humans can be prescribed and can safely take ivermectin and for it to be effective against certain things. But it's medication usually used against parasites. It's supposed to get rid of parasites. There is no evidence whatsoever at all that it is an effective or safe treatment against COVID. Now, I could just go ahead and just say this for the next 20 minutes, but here's the thing. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not a medical professional. I could reiterate everything I've read in articles and read from studies and everything, and that would be all well and good, but I figured, what better to debunk how much of a dumb fuck Joe Rogan is for taking ivermectin to treat his COVID? Who better to let speak on this than an actual doctor who I have a lot of respect for calling out Joe Rogan, because that's never easy to do as a YouTuber. So we're bringing up Dr. Mike, one of my favorite YouTube channels. I love this guy. As you can see, he didn't get ratioed necessarily, but he got a lot more dislikes than he usually does, which you can imagine the reason why. I'll go ahead and I'll give him a like. Help out with that ratio. Joe Rogan fans are some of the dumbest smooth-brained people out there. It's only a 5-minute video, so I think it's worth us watching, because, let's hear an actual doctor debunk these things. He knows more than I do. I haven't seen this video yet. Here's why Joe Rogan's COVID treatment is problematic. Let's go. Dr. Mike, hit me up, buddy.
Joe Rogan just announced on social media that he's in fact sick with COVID-19. He does seem to be doing better and we wish him a speedy recovery. He also did announce a wide range of medications that he took to treat COVID-19, which I want to discuss with you today. Here's the clip.
We immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, Ivermectin, Z-Pack.
Also, I want to point out, he took this like massive lineup of different medications and yeah, he looks sick. He looks sickly. I saw conservatives trying to argue that like conservatives kept showing like a picture where from the video here where like in one picture he looks like this, he's all gray and kind of like sickly looking, and then the next picture he's like a little bit brighter and like a little healthier looking, not much but a little bit. And the conservative on Twitter was trying to argue that the media was putting a filter on the video to make him look more sick. Then I watched this full video. I've seen this full video, the one that he posted. He's walking around like kind of pacing in the video a little bit. And at one point he kind of steps more into the sun and the sun makes him look a little bit more healthy. And so the people claiming that literally just screenshotted that part of the video, then screenshotted this part and tried to say the media was putting a filter on there.
Prednisone, everything. And I also got an NAD drip and a vitamin drip, and I did that.
Oh, wait. I remember what I was saying. He took all these different medicines, but now if it actually works, he won't know like what actually worked. Granted, probably none of these things are going to work. Like Z-Pack, for example, is an antibiotic, and you learn this in elementary school. When you have the flu or the common cold, you don't take antibiotics. The reason why you don't take antibiotics when you have the flu or a cold is because it's a virus, and antibiotics kill bacteria, not viruses. Viruses and bacteria are completely different things.
3 days in a row.
Let's take each one of these on the list, starting with monoclonal antibodies. This is actually a legitimate treatment that's being used widely across the US to prevent severe cases of COVID-19, hospitalizations, and deaths. The way it works is the pharmaceutical companies actually created artificial antibodies that are actually similar to the ones your body makes when it fights off COVID-19. DeSantis in Florida is actually praising this treatment, trying to get more and more people to get it. There is a set of inclusion and exclusion criteria. Basically, it's made for individuals who are at high risk for having severe COVID, but are not yet sick enough to be hospitalized because there is a limited benefit for those patients. Next up, we have Ivermectin, which is an anti-parasitic medication used in both humans and animals. Lately, there's been speculation about Ivermectin being used to prevent severe cases of COVID-19. However, this hasn't quite played out in the quality research. There have been smaller studies that showed some initial promise, but it hasn't yet held up when we've done serious research. There are some trials still.
This is true. This is the same thing that happened with hydroxychloroquine. Do you remember whenever Trump and all the like reactionary types were saying that that was going to be a cure for COVID? And at first it seemed like, okay, there's like some of these tests are seeming to say there's some like, at least it's not causing harm. Maybe it could help for a while, but it wasn't really like verified as like a COVID treatment or a COVID cure. But then as more time went on, the reason why you're not hearing as much about hydroxychloroquine as a COVID treatment anymore is because it ended up being discovered that in some cases it was actually making people die. That it was not good for people, that people were dying because they weren't getting treatment. They were just doing hydroxychloroquine. And some cases where hydroxychloroquine, taking that when you have COVID, was making things worse. So yeah, you've heard the right stop talking about that. Ivermectin has just become the new hydroxychloroquine because you have to understand, vaccines, anti-vax is a right-wing position. It used to be a little bit less on political boundaries. It used to be the thing the Facebook, like, wine moms, the boomers were falling into. But now the anti-vax shit, especially with Trump having been president and Trump being an anti-vaxxer. He is, by the way. Trump is an anti-vaxxer. Look it up. The right has really gotten on board with the anti-vax shit.
Ongoing, but this medication is far from proving a benefit. And this is really important to note because there are individuals across the US who believe in this medication so much that they're actually taking their animals' medication to treat themselves. Folks, do not do this. It is incredibly dangerous. The dosages are not the same. The types of medications are not the same. And we don't yet have proof that it works for COVID-19. There are other medications, there are other therapies that we have available. Do not use ivermectin unless it's for an approved FDA use. Next up, we have Z-Pak, azithromycin. It's an antibiotic that is frequently used for ear infections, respiratory infections. This one makes the least amount of sense to me as a doctor. Joe Rogan went on and said
It's
that
an
he has a virus.
antibiotic.
This is an antibiotic that's used for bacteria. The two don't really go hand in hand. In fact, we advocate to not take antibiotics when you have a
you're
viral
sick
infection
with a
because
virus,
it actually
yeah.
complicates the picture, creates more antibiotic resistance, chances of antibiotic-associated diarrhea. Basically, problems that you do.
There are a lot of beneficial bacteria in your body that are part of your immune system. Your immune system isn't just like antibodies and stuff in your blood. Your immune system is everything from your skin to beneficial bacteria inside like your intestines and stuff like that. There are many cases where taking antibiotics not only leads to, like, for one, there's a lot of bacteria in your guts that keep you from having diarrhea. There's your poops are supposed to be a certain viscosity, and when you have fucked up, bacteria or a lack of bacteria in your intestines, that can cause problems. And obviously, you don't want that when you've already got COVID. You don't need to be having diarrhea when you have COVID. Diarrhea is really bad because it dehydrates you a lot faster than you'd think. That's why when you have diarrhea, you need to be constantly drinking water because you'd be surprised how much water is leaving your system. And you need to be hydrated when you're sick with COVID. You don't want to be sick with a virus and have a lack of water in your system. So yeah, it can actually be harmful in many cases, and it doesn't do anything to help you.
Do not want to have. I don't want to speculate on Joe Rogan's health here because he may have an underlying pneumonia with his COVID-19 infection caused by a bacteria, but because he didn't say so, this one just doesn't make sense to me. Next up, we have prednisone, which is a steroid medication that we use to control inflammation. This one also is used in hospitals, but it's generally reserved for our more sick patients. This is because
So it's funny because a lot of the treatments that Joe Rogan has listed so far are things that I gave my dog. I gave my dog prednisone, my dog Ginger prednisone, because she had arthritis in her back, and it was prescribed by her vet because she was having a lot of inflammation around her spine because she was a rescue. She had a lot of health issues. And so we gave her prednisone because it helped reduce inflammation and swelling around her spine, which is causing her pain.
purpose of using steroids is to actually blunt the immune response and lower inflammation. The tricky thing with treating COVID-19 patients, severely ill COVID-19 patients, is that they have an overabundance of this inflammation known as a cytokine storm. And to help combat that cytokine storm, we actually use prednisone to tone down your body's immune system response. But if you're otherwise healthy and feeling okay and are not hospitalized, prednisone might not play a role for you. Again, here, I don't want to speculate on the severity of Joe Rogan's illness, but I want you to know why we prescribe these medications. The next two I'm gonna group in one, vitamin and NAD IV therapy. This is where marketers like to prey on you. Prey on your fears surrounding COVID-19. Folks, there is no proof either of these things help with COVID-19. Preventing it, making it less severe, none of the above. And for individuals who eat a well-balanced diet and already take supplements, you do not need more of these supplements. In fact, the studies have shown over and over again that not only do these things not help, they could potentially hurt. I actually pulled up a website here with NAD therapy, and the promises they make are absolutely absurd. 1, it aids in addiction recovery. 2, it reduces pain. 3, it improves cognitive function. 4, it boosts energy. 5, it improves athletic performance. 6, helps with weight management. 7, reverses signs of aging. 8, delays or prevents the onset of certain diseases. And apparently also helps with COVID. Folks, do not fall for these marketing scams. You do not need either of these for COVID-19. No legitimate doctor would be recommending these for you. And the biggest issue I have with all these medications being taken all at once, they could potentially interact. You know, when I prescribe a medications, one of the first questions I ask a patient is, are you on?
The first question any doctor asks you is, are you on any other medication? Obviously, yes. That's one of the most important questions, because there are a lot of medications that if you take them both at the same time, they can either cancel each other out. Yeah, he's soy facing right now. If you take multiple medications, they could cancel each other out. They could have really harmful side effects if you take multiple at once. It could kill you. There's some medications that if you take both of them at the same time that could kill you. It could be really bad.
on any others. And the reason is we can actually look at our database and see if there's interactions between certain meds. But when you're taking medications for unapproved uses, or even medications that don't have scientific validity to them, you won't know if there are any potential interactions, and it can become quite dangerous. And remember, we as doctors, the CDC, the FDA, we are working countless hours trying to find a potential treatment or cure for COVID-19. And you know what we have come up with? A vaccine that actually works. A vaccine that has a really, really good rate of decreasing hospitalizations and severe illness. That is something you should believe in. If you're unvaccinated, please consider getting vaccinated. If you have a question about a specific COVID-19 treatment or potential treatment, speak with your primary care doctor. And again, wishing a speedy, well recovery for Joe Rogan.
This is something I like to do with like science channels, especially ones where the person talking is an authoritative source. I like to sort by newest because that's always where I always like to sort by newest because that's where all the hate comments are. The hate comments in a video like this are never going to be the top comments usually when this is the ratio, but we know that 3.4K people disliked the video and we know the type of people that disliked it. So I just want to tell Israel vaccines work. His treatment is better than a ventilator, actually. Any treatment is. Problematic. Even if ivermectin does not work, I have seen no one say it will cause harm or make it more severe, so why not take the human ivermectin? It may help and it will not hurt. White Phone says loser. A troubling trend I'm seeing, and you're part of it, Mike, is the put down of any treatment which might work. Why? You mentioned treatments that are working. Do you have a video of those? Personally, vaccines will not be the path to normalcy. It will be finding treatment like we do with the cold and flu. Does it make sense to take antibiotics when you have a viral infection? You've got to be an idiot to not understand that if you have a severe viral infection, you are very likely to get a bacterial infection. Very good to take one. He's a doctor that went to medical school. These are Facebook conservative Joe Rogan fan boomers, dude. This is what I love about the newest first comments on any video made by an authoritative source, like an actual fucking medically trained doctor. Okay, because he's an actual doctor. He doesn't just do YouTube full time. He's a doctor. He does, his main job is being a doctor. He just makes videos on the side. And yet these people still believe they know better. They still believe that they know better than actual doctors do. This is why when I go like on I want to call it out, but it's really hard to. When I went on the Hippy Dippy panel recently, and all the conservatives on there were like, "No, we're not anti-vax. Just ask your doctor if you should take the vaccine." No. These people don't actually believe that. They're saying it because it sounds nice, and it you know, it's a little bit easier than saying, "Nah, fuck, the doctors know shit." When these people aren't dealing with this scrutiny of people hearing what they have to say, they absolutely believe that they know better than doctors. They absolutely fucking believe that they know better than doctors do. Okay? Marketing scams? Every 15 minutes on TV you see marketing for Big Pharma. Who's scamming who? Stop shaming him because he lived and is doing better. It's problematic for Big Pharma and the vaccine narrative because he showed an inexpensive, safe drug works. Who do these people think are making ivermectin and these other treatments that Joe Rogan took? Does he think they're being like that he made them himself? Does he think that the the antibiotics he was taking were like he grew the cultures in his garage and he made it himself? You shouldn't be talking about COVID. It worked for him, and Nobel Prize winning ivermectin has been proven to be effective, unlike this vaccines, which are proven to be dangerous. Why so much attention for a public figure who talks openly about his medications? Am I missing something? Dude, this is the type of comment that I get on my videos all the time, where people are like, why do you care about this large public figure who's spreading misinformation? Am I missing something? Why do you care so much? Why do you care that the host of the biggest podcast in the world that millions of people listen to, why do you care that they're spreading misinformation? Am I missing something? Actually, Joe is in line with most of the doctor who are censored now or else. Intuition, probably the key. I love the broken English here, too. When I read that he used ivermectin, it made me twitch and gave me Forrest Whitaker. That's a good comment. I like that. Okay. I respect that comment. That's a good one. Yeah, no, intuition is not the key, okay? When you have the option of listening to a doctor and going off of your own intuition, listen to the fucking doctors, okay? Please. I am fully on board with all of these platforms just going no mercy, fully just no recourse, perma-banning everyone spreading medical misinformation about COVID. The anti-vaxxers, everything like that. I am fully on board. No strikes, just insta-ban. Here's why, all right? So from a surface level, and I've been seeing the left, like online, I've seen a problematic amount of sympathy for anti-vaxxers online when it comes to the online left lately, saying, no, don't laugh and make jokes about people dying from COVID, the anti-vaxxers dying from COVID. Don't do that. They're victims of misinformation. Don't do that. No. All right. I have no sympathy for these people, and do you know why? For the same reason that there has to be a new flu booster shot or flu vaccine every single fucking flu season. It is because as long as you have a substantially large contingent of people in society refusing to take the vaccine, you are allowing future variants of COVID to occur. You're allowing COVID to continue to exist and to not to be made extinct, as we have with so many other diseases. There's a few diseases, not many, I should say, but like a few diseases that due to widespread vaccination, we've made effectively extinct. Polio in America is effectively extinct because of vaccinations, okay? When was the last time you heard about someone who isn't an anti-vaxxer getting polio? It doesn't happen. In fact, the last time I heard about polio being a thing was an outbreak of it that happened in anti-vaxxer communities, all right? I am starting to get on board with a vaccine mandate because we're getting to the point where this will never end if people don't get vaccinated. Granted, there are cases, and any doctor will agree with this, where you shouldn't get vaccinated for COVID. There are people who have immune disorders that their bodies literally can't do what the vaccine is meant to make your body do. And that's fine. If your doctor is recommending you don't take the vaccine because you have a health problem that makes it so you can't take it, that's fine. You rely on herd immunity. You motherfuckers who can't take the vaccine because you have health problems involving that just can't handle it, you're the ones who should be pushing hardest for everyone who can get the vaccine to get it, okay? Because this is how viruses work. Viruses evolve and mutate constantly, and they become more resistant to medicine. They've been talking for a while. Doctors have been warning for a very long time that eventually there's going to be a, quote, super bug. There's going to be a virus that is going to have been mutated so much that it's become adapted to all these different vaccines, medications. If everybody doesn't take it and make it extinct, and you're going to end up with a situation where there's going to be a strain of the flu, for example, that we just can't beat. We can't beat it. Everyone's going to be getting the flu because when flu season comes around, only a small amount of people get the flu shot. So that strain of the flu ends up becoming, adapting to be able to survive the flu vaccine. And that's why there's a new one every fucking year. Because only 25% of the population actually gets the flu vaccine. Because it's the flu, it'll be fine. I'll just be sick for a couple days. I don't need to go get the flu vaccine. I don't even get the flu vaccine, but that's because I stay home all day. It's not like I'm going out and doing anything. I'm not that much of a threat. But I got vaccinated for COVID. I got the Johnson & Johnson one. I got the shittiest one just because I wanted the one shot, but it still does it. I'm fully on board. No sympathy to anti-vaxxers when they get sick or die, okay? In my book, no sympathy from me. No empathy, sorry. No empathy from me whatsoever. Not a tear has dropped from my eye for these anti-vaxxers, and I think that they absolutely deserve to be banned and deplatformed off of everything. Everything. They are spreading harmful misinformation. People are dying because of it. It's not just the large figures like Joe Rogan spreading misinformation. These nobodies that I've seen people on the online left try to defend because they're victims of misinformation, they propagate it as well. They're the ones sitting in Facebook groups radicalizing other boomer wine moms and boomer wine dad or boomer Monster Energy dads into also being anti-vaxxers. Oh, and guess what? Do you know what happens whenever an anti-vax parent dies and leaves kids like without a mom or a dad? Do you know what happens? That's one less anti-vax parent keeping their kids from getting vaccinated. There are tons of stories about teenagers and kids having to sneak out in order, or like having to find some way to get vaccinated because their parents won't let them. These people are putting their children in danger, they're putting their families in danger, and they're putting the lives of people who can't get vaccinated due to immune disorders in danger as well. Okay? These people deserve no sympathy. You can argue that they don't mean it and that they have good intentions, but there's a saying. And the saying goes like this: the road to hell is paved in good intentions. Do you think Hitler thought he was evil? Do you think Hitler had bad intentions? Hitler committed a genocide. I'm pretty sure he thought he was in the right. Nazis think they're in the right. Okay? They don't know they're evil. They don't think they're evil. The road to hell is paved in good intentions. I don't care how good these people think they are or how much of a victim they are to misinformation. They are causing harm. And that harm being caused is what actually matters. Every evil person thinks they're doing it for the greater good. Fuck, that's what the entire show Breaking Bad was about. Like, fuck. I don't know. Check out QAnon casualties on Reddit? Yeah, I might. Might give me a good little chuckle. Hitler had good intentions? Absolutely. At least he thought he did. Anyway, with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I'm sure YouTube's going to flag this video as misinformation because it's talking about COVID. Who knows? Maybe I'll even get a strike for it because YouTube's system is so fucked. By the way, I want to preface this by saying I do want YouTube to take down misinformation, and I do want YouTube to take down like the anti-vax shit. However, I'll admit I don't trust YouTube to do it responsibly because I feel like YouTube is more likely to start banning people who mention COVID in their videos than they are to actually like ban people like Steven Crowder and Joe Rogan and all these people who are well known, and it is very publicly aware that they're pushing misinformation about COVID. And yet YouTube will do nothing about them because they make them a lot of money. They'd rather ban... recently, there was a small bread tuber, not small, but like 50,000 subs, like smaller on the end of things, bread tuber who made a video speaking out against COVID misinformation, and he got striked. He got a strike for it. And his video is literally calling out COVID misinformation. YouTube does the same shit. If you make a video speaking out against hate speech and against racism, YouTube's liable, because it's all run by bots, to strike you for hate speech and misinformation and leave the YouTuber who was doing the actual hate speech and misinformation up on their channel. Yep, Cirrus has been hit with multiple false strikes for it. H-Bomber Guy, I think, has been hit with false strikes. Plenty of people do. I've been hit with false strikes for the same shit multiple times. I've gotten 2 false strikes on my channel. YouTube has not fixed them. YouTube will do nothing about it, okay? They don't give a fuck. There's a reason why these figures are still on the platform. YouTube doesn't actually care about misinformation being spread on their platform. They just want to do, they do the bare minimum. They just add this little thing here, like COVID vaccine. Like, if you mention COVID, they add a little pop-up. If you mention climate change, they add a little pop-up. If you mention the Holocaust, they add a little pop-up, which is nice, I guess. It's better than nothing. That, like, if someone stumbles across a video, maybe then, you know, they might see an actual, like, verified source linked down below. But it doesn't really matter much when you're still allowing massive figures who are pushing anti-vax propaganda and medical misinformation to still stay on the platform because they're big and they're making you lots of money, okay? However, if YouTube can get their shit together, then I'm totally on board with all of these people getting banned. Joe Rogan should be banned from YouTube. He's broken TOS. What he does regularly, any segment where he talks about COVID, he is breaking YouTube TOS. He is liable to get a strike or a ban. YouTube doesn't do it because it's Joe Rogan. And each of his episodes generates, like, I don't know, like a few million views at least. His episodes are massively viewed, like tons of fucking viewers. Lol, where's the chat? You're Crack Hex. You are currently in Twitch chat. The chat on screen is my website chat. That's xanderhall.com/live. Come to my website, make an account, and you can be in the real chat. The chat's on screen. They're spamming poop and dicks right now because they think it's funny. My chat are all under the age of 13. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell icon if you haven't already. follow my social media, especially my Twitter, down below. Links are all down below. And of course, join my fan Discord too. It's very, very important. And of course, you can support me financially if you want to. Don't do it if you can't afford. Just if you want to help support me financially, help me pay the bills, and you've got money, you've got enough money for it and everything, and you're fine there. You can always support me on my website, xanderhall.com/live, by donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub. Do it, motherfuckers. I know. Why do the calls to act? It's why I do the calls to action. You guys need to be told to do it, to actually do it. And you can also support me on YouTube by super chatting or hitting the join button to become a channel member, or doing it on Twitch. You can Prime sub for free if you've got Amazon Prime, or sub or gift a sub normally. And of course, you can donate directly through Streamlabs and through Patreon. Anyway, no matter how you support me, whether it be just nice comments, likes on the video, just watching the video, or donating, I really do appreciate your support. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, have a good one.